Menticide, of course, coming from the idea of mental, yeah, your way you think, your mind, your ideas. Side, like ethnocide, homicide, culturicide, to kill, to destroy. The systematic effort to break down the beliefs and allegiances of a person by physical or psychological means in order to substitute one's own. As the so-called good book in Proverbs 23 says, from as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. And again, the idea that the way you think, has a huge impact on what you do. And therefore, if you can control the thinking of a people and the minds of a people, in essence, you control the political, religious, and economic ideas of those people. And so in education is this huge struggle, as we all know, that's going on right now for the future of the minds of our peoples. And so education or miseducation has been one, of course, which was to try to stop. The attempt was to wipe out, to erase, to transform the thinking of the natives, to accept, right, to accept being dominated, to accept the oppression, to accept the condition of being exploited within even your own homelands. And the way to do that was to destroy any kind of connection that you may have with the thinking of your people, your so-called worldview, your epistemology, ontology, how we know what we know, how we do what we do. Yeah, and the way you do that, of course, is through miseducation, which, of course, is to denigrate the thinking of your kupuna, your elders, your ancestors, at the same time to replace their thinking with this foreign worldview. And that process of miseducation really is to, as Ngugi wa Thiong'o had said, right, to teach you that theft is holy, for you to accept the plundering of your lands and your resources, to accept your oppression, and to be tamed in that instance, to not speak out against it, and to somehow to accept it as being normal. In fact, to come to the point where you believe that in fact it's good for you to be treated in that manner. And this miseducation is the backbone of settler domination. It is the backbone of settler domination. All you got to understand at extremes, you can look at slave plantations. There are reasons why, for example, the slave owner never allowed the slave to learn to read and write, to become educated, to know their history. And of course, because with knowledge comes power. With knowledge and thinking, once you start to think for yourself, you will act for yourself. And so this miseducation, this menticide, of course, his main purpose is to camouflage, to hide, to normalize, in fact, the privileges that the so-called settler oppressor gains in this political atmosphere, right? So you don't question their positioning. In fact, as Hegel, one of the great German philosophers, also talks about that, even the so-called oppressor or the settler, or the slave owner in this power differential, in fact, starts to believe in this own fakery, in this own false ideas. And they really believe, in fact, that they are more supreme than the so-called native. Yeah. So what Hegel says, the dehumanization process is not one that just destroys the minds of the oppressed. It also destroys the minds of the oppressor, where they falsely now start to believe that they're actually a lot better, a lot more powerful, and in fact, a lot more deserving of this false history. And these mythologies, again, are used to empower them, at the same time to disempower the so-called native. Yeah. So, in fact, we can look at a good example of what's going on today. Right now there's a little struggle going on within the United States in regards to education. There's been a push in the last many years to kind of push the true history of the United States, to explain the history of so-called slavery, the genocide of the American Indians within North America, to understand really, what manifest destiny is all about. So let's look at George Washington. Let's look at people like Thomas Jefferson. Let's tell the truth about people like Thomas Jefferson. Yes, he wrote some very important documents and foundational ideas within the framework of the United States. But if you look at his writings also in the same way, again, he used ideas and words like extermination of the so-called natives. I mean, think about it, to exterminate the Indians. These were the ideas that were in the minds of so-called great founding Americans. Now, of course, the idea is, why would we hide that? Why not tell the truth? And of course, the idea is that because if you tell the truth, it somehow uh, invalidates or erases the so-called supremacist ideas that which they've loved to hang on to. And so this constantation, that this is what's going on right now, and as President Trump has says, he wants to replace it now, what's he calling patriotic education. In other words, let's not look at all the truthful history. Let's not look at anything that might be seen as being negative regards to the founding of the United States or the history of the United States. In fact, let's keep up with the mythologies. Again, who is empowered and who is disempowered? The idea that, and even his quote is, very misleading, as he says, no longer fed hateful lies about his country. Hateful lies? Thomas Jefferson's own words are hateful lies. The actual words of De Las Casas are hateful lies. The actions of George Washington to scorch and burn policies over American Indians, that's hateful. No, that's true history. But yet this idea that we must maintain control, we must hide this history, really shows, in fact, at the core, how afraid they are of history. And that's why anyone who knows me, as I always say, when I talk about politics, I really don't need to talk about politics per se. I just need to talk about history. I just need to expose those political myths. I just need to give the people the truth. And when the people receive the truth, they cannot help but start to question these so-called false ideas that have been imposed upon many so-called native peoples. And this is why you have this huge fight over what should be taught to our children. I would always argue that we should always strive to teach the truth to the children, not to protect the false lies and the mythologies that only empower a few. Yeah, as the great Sir John Seeley said, as we've talked about in class, history is past politics, and politics present history.